Hey, it's Nick, and I'm back with the fourth in a series of presentations that I've been doing on a banking web application that I created using Java EE technologies. In the last video, we were looking at a use case for a person who's logged in to the banking application and wants to create a new kind of account. And I believe we created a 401k kind of account for the user. And we looked at the database and how we persist that data and how we presented that data back to the user. And we also looked at sort of how I'm making the session work and making sure that the user is logged in. So we have an ATM security class that is taking in basically the username and password for the user, and then it's calling the database and authenticating that user against the database to make sure that that username and password is valid. And if it's not, it would throw an exception. If it is valid, then we're going to create a session variable that has an object representation of that user. And when the session, as long as the session is logged in and the user hasn't left the web page or hit log out, they'll be able to, the web application will be able to reference that data and all of the different pages that the user goes to. And the web application will be able to use that as security to make sure that the user is able to look at the correct things and do things that they should be able to do as a logged in person, and also show the unique things that are associated with that user, like how many accounts they have and the account names and so on. So anyway, let's move on to looking at the new account.jsp. This is the page that comes up when the user clicks add account after they've logged in. And basically we're doing the same thing as we did in user accounts. We're just making sure that this user is valid. So we're gonna call the session from the request object, and as long as we get a valid user, and as long as this has already been set, because if this attribute is set, that means we do have a valid logged in user. So then we're going to cast that to a user object, and we're going to use that later on in the application. So the only other thing we really want to look at in this application is the form, because that's obviously the important part. It's got a post method and it's got the new account servlet. So when the user clicks submit, the new account servlet's gonna catch the post, and it's gonna use that information to try to create a new account for that user. And up here we were populating that box with the user's first name and last name. And then we had an area for them to enter the account name and how much money should be in the account. So let's go look at the new account servlet. And again, here right above the class, we need to set its name so that the forms can call action and use this name to send the forms information to the servlet. You've got to override whatever methods you want to implement. So if that action is post, you need to override do post in the servlet. Got the request and the response objects, and we're going to use this request to get the forms parameters, and then we're going to get a connection to the database. And what this account ID is doing is generating a unique number for us. We could have the database do that for us, but I just didn't implement that. I just have it set up so that the web application can create unique numbers for the account table's primary key. So we create a a user object, and we can do that by just calling the get user on the database object, the da.getUser. So let's go look at getUser real quick. GetUser, oh, that's save user. GetUser takes in an ID, and it uses a prepared statement to search for that user's ID. So basically it comes here to the user table. These IDs must be unique. So it'll find the one that's passed in, and then it'll get all this information that's associated with the user account. That's what it's doing here. And then it'll return that user. So that's how we get the user object. And then we also want to create a new account that's associated with this user. So now that we have the user object and we have this unique number that we created up here, we're gonna use the account name string and the account balance that we got from the user on that form, and we're creating a new account object. And once we have that account object, then we can use the database or the data access class's save account method to save that account in the database. And that's how we were able to, when we created the 401k, that's how that happened. Because it took in the user ID, created that new number for us, and then it took in the name and the balance that we passed in the form. And save account, we'll go look at that real quick. Save account. We're using another prepared statement. And again, all this, the information for how the prepared statement is set up is all at the bottom. And when you connect to the database, it prepares the statement, it gets it ready for us, and then all we have to do is pass in the values that we want in the placeholders. And when we execute it, it will insert a new row in the database, hopefully, or it'll create an exception if there's a problem. So after we've added a new account, we're going to send that user back to that user accounts.jsp page. And if you remember in video number 2 or number 3, we started off with 2 accounts, but then after we added a new account, the user accounts.jsp page refreshed and showed us that we had 3 accounts with that new 401k account there. So that's everything that I wanted to show you for the use case for letting a user register a new account to their login. And what we're going to look at in the next couple of videos is the log off functionality, and that will pretty much wrap it up. I might do a little bit of an overview of the application, but there should only be 1 or 2 more videos. So thanks for watching. Bye.